Is that question for me?
Yes, it's cool for you.
Is it fixable? I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. I think it's possible, and I think it's something we should put some effort into doing and make sure we hold the Afghan authorities both accountable. And I think we've given them a lot of blank checks. I think we've kind of turned the other way. Our focus was on another war in another country, and we reaped what we sowed. Is the corruption? Corruption will never go away. Corruption is part of our government. It's part of our institutions. It's part of our daily lives here in America. It's a phenomenon that I think transcends countries. There will always be corruption in Afghanistan. There's corruption in India, which is a functional country. There's corruption all around Iran, all these places. That's okay. The problem is we have levels that exceed the ability for the government to work, for the government to meet the needs of its people. That, I think, can be reined in if we're able to express a degree of clarity to the Afghan government that we're not going to let the levels of corruption that have been occurring continue. They cannot continue.
We need to give we're going to take a short break in just a minute, but I want to give Mr. Haidari a chance to respond briefly before we take a break, and we will come back after a short break. But you're hearing a sort of a theme here that American political leaders and the public are growing impatient with the government. They feel that it is not addressing its own issues. Can you speak to that?
I think, yes, the Afghan government and, of course, the Afghan people have heard enough on the issue of corruption, and it is an issue that we are seriously committing to fighting in Afghanistan. And I think I agree with the speaker's comment that corruption in Afghanistan is systemic. It's about state institutions lacking capacity and resources, and of course, therefore, making vulnerable the bureaucracy to corruption.
We need to take a short break, but in a moment, we'll continue our conversation with Ashraf Haidari. He's a political counselor from the Embassy of Afghanistan in Washington, D.C., Afghan journalist Najib Sharifi, and Captain Benjamin Tepper. Please stay with us. This is Tell Me More from NPR News. I'm Michelle Martin. I'm Michelle Martin, and this is Tell Me More from NPR News. Coming up, we'll talk about how voters here at home and the international community are responding to the president's speech on Afghanistan. That's in just a few minutes. And later, we'll hear about that mayor's race in Atlanta. It's still too close to call. But first, we continue our conversation with Ashraf Haidari, political counselor at the Embassy of Afghanistan in Washington, D.C., journalist Najib Sharifi, and a veteran of the Afghanistan conflict, Captain Benjamin Tepper. He was actually embedded with Afghan national forces. They're here with me. Thank you all again for staying with us. Before the break, Mr. Haidari, I interrupted you briefly. If you could just finish the point that you were making. We were talking about the growing impatience on the part of political leaders here, the Afghan people, obviously, and the American public with what they see as the failings of the Karzai government, particularly in addressing corruption. If you'd finish the point you were making.
Correct. I think I said that it is a systemic problem, that corruption is a symptom of weak governance. It's not a cause of it. When it's a symptom of weak governance, that means state institutions have been weak from the very beginning. We have lacked a comprehensive state-building strategy that has really not helped to strengthen state institutions from the very beginning. Remember that the Bonn Agreement gave us a government on the paper back in 2001. But since then, there's not been a comprehensive state-building strategy to strengthen the institutions that the Bonn Agreement gave us. And that's why we welcomed back in March the President's comprehensive strategy for Afghanistan. That's why we, of course, welcomed this announcement of the strategy, not only to focus on security, but also on, of course, civilian. And, of course, the Afghan government has taken a number of steps. So far, we've prosecuted some 600 officials for corruption charges. There are some 15 ministers right now under investigation that we will, of course, prosecute over the coming weeks and months. There is a high office on oversight and anti-corruption that needs to be strengthened, and we're committed to working with the U.S. and our other partners to further strengthen and give this office the capacity to implement its mandate. So we look at this issue as more of a cumulative problem from the very beginning, in absence of a broad state-building strategy.
And
I
take your point that you're working on it seriously as a government. Sure. Najib Sharifi, you actually have a very you have a unique background. You're a medical doctor in addition to being a journalist, and so you had the opportunity to see quite a lot of things when you were working in Afghanistan. Of course, you still have family there. So I wanted to ask you about the whole question of institution building. I mean, the president said that he's not interested in sort of nation building per se, or the nation he's interested in building is this one. And yet there are those who say that civilian institutions have to be given the capacity to function properly. Did you hear enough about that aspect of that side of the story in the president's speech? And what do you think needs to happen going forward?
I did hear that, but it was not stressed upon very strongly, and we need that along with the military surge, and as long as that's an inseparable part of a military surge. If we expect succeed, and the reason that earlier I said that today I support the military surge is because we only need there's psychological support from the international community. If they are put on the ground, we will not see much effectiveness from them. And I hope more of them engage in training the Afghan security forces. With regards to institution building, it's a big need of us today, and it is one of the causes of corruption. I hope serious attention is paid on that. But coming back to the issue of corruption, I shall say that within the past, and obviously corruption is the main cause behind dissatisfaction of people from the government. We do know that we do understand that lack of having strong institutions in the country has been the cause of corruption. But at the same time, I can say that we have not had goodwill on the part of the Afghan government to eradicate corruption in the country. We had very high-profile examples of corruption going on there every day, but there was nobody to watch it and to say that this is a cancer that's destroying the government and is destroying the country. So why shouldn't we address it? And today that we are saying that why should we start addressing corruption today? Why didn't we start to address corruption 5 or 6 years ago when we had a lot to do and when corruption was in the beginning stages?
Okay. Well, I'm going to hear from Captain Tepper, and I want to give him the final thought. And Captain Tepper, what do you think needs to happen going forward? Well, I mean, I'm sure that you just have a lot of interesting thoughts right about now. There have been so much conversation about how long the president took to make this decision, whether he took an appropriate amount of time and so forth, and whether, in fact, the focus... go ahead.
No problem with him taking that time at all. I think it showed a steady hand to a very complex problem. I think anybody who studies Afghanistan, the more they read, they realize it doesn't get easier. The solution gets even muddier and more difficult to draw out. So time-wise, 3 months I had no problem with that. I think that was a proper course of action. I think the additional troops, speaking to an American audience who's probably that's their biggest concern. Why are we sending troops? This country is the graveyard of empires. No one ever wins there. I don't think anybody thinks that these 30,000 extra troops wins the war or defeats the Taliban. I don't think that's the purpose of them. And I think the president made it clear or maybe he didn't say this directly, but I took this out of the speech. We need to negotiate with the moderate elements of the Taliban from a position of strength. Right now, we're not in that position. I think these 30,000 troops, they will create a degree of expanded security influence in the country. They will also create more problems. There will be accidents that happen that alienate Afghan people. We may bomb a wrong compound or accidentally shoot someone who shouldn't have been targeted. That will happen, but the net good that will come out of this will be more than the negative. The end state goal, 18 months from now, is that we've created conditions in some of the larger population areas that allow the government to start to function or to function better. It's very difficult for anybody to do a normal job when going to school or going to your workplace involves the risk of getting killed in an explosion without warning.